In Hollywood, your look is nearly as important as your talent. So what happens when plastic surgery goes wrong, or the number on the scale shifts too far in either direction? Thanks to his work in 3 High School Musical movies in the 2000s, Zac Efron was one of the most prominent and popular teen idols for a whole generation. He fit the mold of a tiger beat pinup, with big blue eyes, a mop of hair, and a wide smile which he often affected while singing pop songs. Unlike some child stars, Efron navigated the difficult transition to adult roles, starring in dramas like The Paperboy and comedies like Neighbors and Baywatch. In the latter 2 films in particular, Efron had plenty of opportunity to show off a newly developed ultra-muscular physique. After the release of The Iron Claw and Ricky Stenicki, Efron's appearance had noticeably changed. For example, his lips had grown puffy, and his once big eyes had narrowed on a now large and rectangular face. So many fans speculated about Efron that plastic surgeon Dr. Sam Risk decided to offer his professional opinion in an interview with the New York Post. In 2013, Efron suffered a broken jaw, and Risk thinks that changed the shape of the actor's face.
It's funny, it sucked, I almost died, but we're good.
Risk suggested he probably took the opportunity, in addition to correcting it, to do something better. He might have had jaw advancements where they pull the chin a little bit more forward because his chin looks a little bit more prominent. The surgeon also pointed out that the actor's higher situated eyebrows and larger cheeks indicate other cosmetic enhancements. Australia-born actor Rebel Wilson found success in the US with roles in Bridesmaids and the Pitch Perfect movies. In the Pitch Perfect movies specifically, her weight was central to her character, who was named Fat Amy, so her team shut down any talk of weight loss. As Wilson told the Sunday Times, basically no one apart from my mom wanted me to lose weight. People thought I'd lose my pigeonhole in my career, playing the fat, funny character, and they wanted me to continue in that. Wilson approached a fertility specialist in 2019, as she was considering freezing her eggs in advance of pregnancy at a later date. The doctor told her the procedure would be more effective if she lost weight. Over the span of 2020, Wilson shed more than 80 pounds. She told People magazine she didn't set out to lose a specific amount, but instead wanted to be healthier in general. Still addressing the psychological roots of her dietary habits and feeling stress from acting and writing her memoir, Wilson announced in 2024 that she'd reacquired 30 previously lost pounds. In an Instagram post cataloging this change, she wrote, "It makes me feel bad about myself. It shouldn't, but it does. I'm really proud of the work I've been doing on new movies and my memoir. It's just been a lot." One of the biggest new stars of the 1980s, Jennifer Grey appeared in a string of classic films of the era, including Red Dawn, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and Dirty Dancing. Grey seemed to have a long and illustrious career ahead of her, but by the early 90s, she was reduced to starring in forgettable made-for-TV movies like Eyes of a Witness and Murder in Mississippi. The reason for this sudden shift in status in the entertainment world was that Grey had undergone an elective cosmetic surgery so drastic that it rendered her unfamiliar to audiences and casting directors. Grey's nose was a unique and defining physical feature, and it set her apart from other actors of her age and stature who, for the most part, all sported smaller noses. Her 1989 rhinoplasty, intended to be a minor procedure, completely changed the shape of her nose and subsequently her face. As she told the Mirror in 2012, "I went in the operating theater a celebrity and came out anonymous. It was like being in a witness protection program or being invisible."
In terms of my career, it was devastating.
Billy Gardell's persona and work once revolved around his status as a large guy, including a stand-up routine featuring lots of self-deprecating jokes. From 2010 to 2016, he starred in Mike and Molly, a sitcom about a couple who meet at an Overeaters Anonymous meeting. When the COVID-19 pandemic erupted in 2020, Gardell quarantined himself when he realized he had many of the medical conditions that would make him more susceptible to dying from the virus.
When they made that list of, overweight,
Sure.
type 2 diabetes, smoker, asthma, I'm like, check, bingo.
After he could be vaccinated against COVID-19, Gardell underwent bariatric weight loss surgery. The comic says his weight peaked at 370 pounds during the run of Mike and Molly, and by 2024, his number floated around 200 pounds. After writing and directing some indie films, Lena Dunham moved to HBO in 2012 as the creator and star of the millennial dramedy Girls. Dunham, who never really occupied the conventional weight class of popular actors, earned a lot of online commentary during the first few seasons of the show. In 2017, she faced even more derisive talk when she lost weight, which happened to be a side effect of turning to nutrition and exercise to treat her endometriosis. During an appearance on The Ellen DeGeneres Show, she reflected, "It's just so crazy because I spent 6 years of my career being called things like bag of milk on the internet. And suddenly I got all of these people being like, 'You're a hypocrite. I thought you were body positive.'" In October 2021, Dunham's weight became a discussion topic once more when distributed photos of her wedding indicated that the actor and filmmaker appeared heavier than she had been during the making of Girls. Dunham explained that she had, in fact, gained weight, and that it was a very good thing. She wrote on an Instagram post, "The pics I'm being compared to are from when I was in active addiction with undiagnosed illness. I've gotten sober and begun my life as someone who aspires toward health and not just achievement." Before she was an actor, Delta Burke dominated her local beauty pageant circuit and even competed to be Miss America. In a realm where being slim was the expectation, Burke kept her weight down to 110 pounds through the use of sketchy amphetamines. Speaking with the New York Times, Burke reflected on her years as a competitor, saying, "My mother kept finding me draped over shrubbery or chairs because I'd pass out." In 1986, 30-year-old Burke began a stint as former beauty queen Suzanne Sugarbaker on the sitcom Designing Women. At the time, she weighed 145 pounds, but when she left the show in 1991, the amphetamines had stopped being effective and her weight approached 200 pounds. Years of obsessing over her weight culminated in binge eating and weight gain, which brought out depression and anxiety. But utilizing therapy and medication, Burke owned her changing body, writing Delta Style, "Eve wasn't a size 6 and neither am I," and launching a line of plus-size clothing for women. In the same Times interview, she reflected, "I thought, this is the size I am. I don't want to be this, but I don't know that I'll ever lose it, and if that's the case, I might as well come to terms with it." The actor also admitted to some cosmetic surgery, undergoing a lift procedure to remove fat pouches on her face. The two biggest eras of Mickey Rourke's acting career each come with their own distinctive look. In the 1980s, the young actor affected a brooding leading man sensibility in acclaimed dramas like Body Heat, Diner, Rumblefish, and The Pope of Greenwich Village. After disappearing into B-movies and erotic thrillers like Wild Orchid and Angel Heart, Rourke re-emerged in the 2000s to play older, downtrodden, and world-weary characters in Sin City and The Wrestler, the latter of which earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor. The Rourke of the 2000s barely resembled the Rourke of the 80s, and according to the actor, that's the result of boxing injuries and complications. Before Hollywood came calling, Rourke fought on the amateur circuit and resumed the sport during a career downturn in the 1990s. He recalled to the Daily Mail, "I had my nose broken twice. I had 5 operations on my nose and 1 on a smashed cheekbone. I had to have cartilage taken from my ear to rebuild my nose and a couple of operations to scrape out the cartilage because the scar tissue wasn't healing properly. On top of all that, Rourke required some cosmetic surgery to make sure everything wound up looking the way it should. Discussing the results, he admitted, "I went to the wrong guy to put my face back together." Bursting onto the scene as Donna Hayward on Twin Peaks, a show famous for storylines that came out of nowhere, Lara Flynn Boyle enjoyed a huge career in the 1990s. After portraying stalker Stacy in Wayne's World and Suzanne in the indie cult classic Red Rock West, Boyle became best known for playing Helen Gamble on The Practice for 6 years. As far as her appearance went, Boyle had delicate facial features and an extremely thin frame. Speaking with the Daily Mail, Boyle said that the simple act of aging may have also derailed her career after the 90s ended. She reflected, "I know I may be running out of time. There are just not that many roles for older women. On a vanity level, I am not looking forward to aging at all. I think I look pretty good now." In the years that followed, Boyle started to show up to events looking little like the famous star of screens Big and Small. Her cheeks appeared to be fuller and her lips significantly larger, among other changes. Beverly Hills plastic surgeon and botched star Dr. Paul Nassif suggested that several procedures would explain the actor's 2000s looks, suggesting to the Daily Mail, Lara Flynn Boyle appears to have had rhinoplasty, lip augmentation, Botox, facial fillers, and possibly a brow lift and facelift. In the 1990s and early 2000s, Ethan Suplee almost always played kind of dumb guys whose appearance was a big part of their personality. Like Suplee, his characters were heavyset or large men, like school bully Frankie in Boy Meets World, Magic Eye poster-riled William in Mallrats, and Randy in My Name is Earl. In 2009, after Earl was canceled, Suplee decided that a change was in order, and he systematically used exercise to transform his body. He told Entertainment Weekly in 2017, "I started obsessively riding bicycles. I actually did get properly thin at one point. I was 9% body fat.
I'm now 260. In between there was weight loss and weight gain.
Unfortunately, when he started going out for auditions with his new body, Suplee was met with confusion and resistance. He said that many people didn't recognize him, or they considered him to be a different person than he'd been before his weight loss. The radical change nearly even cost him his major role in the 2016 Hulu series Chance. These reactions led Suplee to ease up on his intensive exercise regimen. He reflected, "I'm not going to kill myself to be thin when nobody knows me as a thin person, and I do think it is affecting the kind of jobs I'm getting." Anthony Michael Hall is probably still best known for his first major roles during the 1980s. In a series of films written and/or directed by John Hughes, teenaged Hall played undersized, scrawny high school-age dweebs like Rusty Griswold in Vacation, Farmer Ted in 16 Candles, Gary in Weird Science, and Brian Johnson in The Breakfast Club. Following a brief stint on Saturday Night Live, Hall returned to film in the late 80s and early 90s, suddenly playing the opposite of those quintessential movie nerds. Muscle-bound athletes and bullies in films like Johnny B. Good and Edward Scissorhands. Ever since, Hall has continued to portray mostly jacked tough guys and imposing authority figures. The shift in roles came from a shift in appearance. After those nerdy parts, Hall gained a lot of weight and acquired a lot of muscle. Speaking of his physical change on an America Online live chat, he said, "There was a horrific rumor that was going around about steroids. The weight gain was natural."
How is this kid you?
Well, I got a haircut. I slapped on some acne cream and then I hit the gym.